Right now on the National Weather Desk, after Milton, new information about when the lights will come back on, why some rivers are still rising, and tornado survivors share their stories.
I held on to the front door where it was going to blow in. I'm not even kidding. It was breathing like a heart.
Mission to Jupiter. Will NASA find life on one of the planet's moons?
This is going to pave the way for the future.
Did you see the comet over the weekend? Not to worry, you still have time to catch the sky show. In Texas, the ongoing drought is still a problem for many farmers.
The lack of moisture in the forecast when it comes to rain or snow for the next couple of months.
And nothing says fall like pumpkins and apples. Find out the role weather plays in their success.
We want a good balance of dry and wet days.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Janae Bowens. Now, more than 4 days after Hurricane Milton roared ashore, 400,000 homes and businesses in Florida are still without power. Most are expected to be back by tomorrow night. At least 17 people died in the storm. While Florida escaped the worst-case scenario, many neighborhoods remain underwater. That's because drainage systems and rivers cannot handle all the rain that fell. Some rivers are expected to keep rising in the coming days. Others already crested at record levels. And later this week, a cold front could bring unseasonably low temperatures to Orlando and Tampa. Now, Tampa is also one of the places contending with rising water. On Saturday, Tampa police rescued a man who found himself trapped in his car due to the high water. Since Milton made landfall, nearly 1,800 people and 225 animals have been rescued by urban search and rescue teams and the Florida National Guard. The National Weather Service is still investigating all 38 reported tornadoes in Florida on Wednesday. Some left unimaginable damage. One homeowner is recounting what happened when a twister literally tore his home off its foundation. Katie Benty has the story.
Okeechobee resident Mike Kalin says he was taken by surprise with shutters tightly fastened, but he didn't need to see it to know it was a twister.
I held on to the front door where it was going to blow in. I'm not even kidding. It was breathing like a heart. This here used to be a really nice lanai. Had a covered roof to here, and then it was screened from here all the way out.
What is all the metal back there?
That metal was my carport.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
The tornado's wrath is visible as you drive through the neighborhood and along Highway 98. Construction trucks turned on their sides and what seems to be an entire home leveled just outside a milk farm. And just a mile south, neighbors tell us a retired couple is fighting for their lives tonight. Their mobile home was ripped up from the ground and thrown 150 feet away with them inside. Emergency officials say the wife was found trapped under the washing machine, while her husband was discovered another 20 feet away.
Once we seen that thing, we thought them people would be dead, and they were not. They survived that, and it's a miracle. God had a hand in some of this. There's no doubt about it.
While it's not uncommon for tornadoes to break out as hurricanes arrive, last week's outbreak was large by any standard. Meteorologist AJ Mastrangelo explains the connection between hurricanes and tornadoes.
Hurricanes as well as tropical storms, tornadoes being spawned. The rotation we see in the hurricane, well, it does lead to frequent occurrences of these. So let's talk about a hurricane hypothetically over the Gulf of Mexico. Intense thunderstorm activity you see with this storm, very little frictional force. The surface of the water, really doesn't vary like it does on land. Limited vertical wind shear, but that does change as we see, of course, these hurricanes, these tropical storms approach land and eventually go over land. What we see is an increase in friction, and what that does is some interesting things here to the ground itself. Friction amplifies that vertical wind shear. That's a change in wind speed and direction with height. Rotation is created in the atmosphere as a result of that, and the updrafts, they aid in rotating that column of air so it becomes vertical, and eventually we get that tornado formation. So this is what wind shear essentially is. As you can see, faster winds higher up in the atmosphere, weaker winds further on down to the ground level. But as we encounter more friction, that becomes more chaotic, and as that system creates more rotation, we eventually see that rise up into the atmosphere. Eventually we see more of a wall cloud develop, and eventually that does end up dropping tornadoes. And you can see these from the center of the storm just outside the eye in the eye wall all the way to the outer bands, and this is a repeated process we do see with tropical cyclones.
And this morning, we are once again keeping our eyes on a disturbance in the tropics. Right now, it's off the coast of Africa, but is expected to move westward, where conditions could be more favorable to develop into a storm. As of this morning, those chances stand at just 40%. In Texas, the problem is the heat. The mercury hit 101 degrees at yesterday's Austin City Limits Music Festival. That's the hottest October day in Austin since record keeping began and shattered the record for the latest triple-digit temperature in city history. Just 2 more days of heat before cooler temperatures arrive on Wednesday. And NASA's journey to Jupiter is back on. The launch was scrubbed last week as Milton targeted Florida, but it could launch as early as this afternoon. The largest spacecraft ever built for a planetary mission is heading for one of Jupiter's moons. Amy Kiley has more.
This is going to pave the way for the future.
NASA's biggest planetary mission spacecraft to date is set to explore a potentially habitable place for life beyond Earth. The Europa Clipper is named after its destination, an icy moon of Jupiter.
We scientists have been dreaming about a mission like Europa Clipper for more than 20 years.
Scientists think the moon Europa is one of the best bets in the solar system for sustaining life. Under its surface, they believe it has an ocean, with tides from Jupiter's gravity that produce heat.
Scientists believe Europa has the suitable conditions below its icy surface to support life. Those conditions are water, energy, chemistry, and stability.
NASA says the Europa Clipper carries 9 instruments for testing those conditions, along with a gravity experiment.
Given everything that we've really learned about necessary conditions for life, Clipper is going to tell us if Europa has all of these ingredients for life.
But don't expect that data tomorrow. The journey between Earth and Europa spans about 1.8 billion miles.
It's going to be another 10 years because Jupiter's so far away until we have all the science in the bag.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Now, SpaceX's Starship rocket, the most powerful rocket ever built, completed its 5th test flight on Sunday. The rocket flew through space after detaching from the boosters. The boosters traveled back toward the launch site, where a set of massive metal arms called chopsticks caught the booster midair, helping it make a soft landing. Now, when you think of good places to see the northern lights, maybe you think of states across the northern United States. But late last week, not only did states like Maine have a good showing of the aurora borealis, but they were also visible down to North Carolina and even Texas. Brenna Gibbons has more on why they were visible so far south.
What we had was the northern lights, and normally you don't see them this far south. But a couple of days ago, there was a large solar flare on the sun, which basically poofs out a big puff of gas and radioactivity and, just that kind of stuff. Well, when it hits the Earth, it kind of shoves the magnetic field further south. So the northern lights, which normally form a circle around the North Pole, kind of get pushed further down, and we get to see them here whenever there's a flare like that. And there was actually 2 or 3 of them that happened in succession. So it kind of gave it some extra nudges, and we got to see the show.
The aurora from the northern lights was visible for many people in the big country, and even as far south as Houston.
Right now we're in the middle of what's called the solar maximum, which the sunspot cycle, basically when you see sunspots, little black spots on the sun, those indicate like turmoil on the sun and the magnetic field. It gets twisted up. Well, they erupt and spurt these little puffs of gas out. And right now we're in the maximum. It kind of goes up and down every 11 years, and we're in the middle of it right now.
Pavlovic says he uses websites such as spaceweatherlive.com to track what is called the KP index, which helps track if we will be able to see the northern lights here in Texas.
When you go to this, you're going to see this thing called the KP index. 7 and above, you have a possibility of seeing auroras this far south.
Passed by Earth 80,000 years ago is back. Plenty of viewers submitted photos of the comet after spotting it over the weekend. You'll still be able to see it through the end of the month. Just look to the western sky shortly after sunset, but take note, the comet will get fainter and move to a higher part of the sky as each day passes. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll find out how drought is impacting Texas wheat farmers. And we are in the height of the apple and pumpkin season. We'll look at how the weather is impacting this year's crop.
I'm meteorologist Ryan Munn. As we get a look at the Northeast for your Monday. Not the best of days across the Northeast. We are going to see some rain throughout many areas. And yes, notice this, a little bit of mountain snow expected as well. Some of the higher elevations are going to see some snow throughout the day on Monday. And then some clearing happens as we head through the afternoon and evening for many areas throughout the Northeast. And as we head into Tuesday, some scattered showers possible, but high temperatures are going to top out in the 40s and 50s.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. A strong cold front passing across the area is going to definitely give us a chance for a shower or two overnight, but we're not counting on a lot of moisture. What we are really going to see is some much cooler air coming in. It'll be breezy as we head through your daytime, even a couple showers in some of the vicinities here on Tuesday. But get ready to see your temperatures really drop. We're going to be talking about 60s for highs on Monday, but Tuesday, after some chilly low temperatures, 50s may be your high temperature.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your Southeast forecast highs for the day. A cool 66 degrees in Nashville, 74 in Raleigh, 71 in Atlanta. Definitely light jacket weather. We'll see 80s through Mobile, 89 in Jacksonville, 85 even in West Palm. A lot of dry conditions across the central and eastern half of the country with a dome of high pressure across the area. Looks like we're seeing more sunshine down even in South Florida. A few high thin sprinkles possibly off the lake up around Ohio. Other than that, relatively quiet condition for the next several days.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
We're in the height of the apple and pumpkin season. Maryland meteorologist Amy Aronson looks at how the weather impacts these autumn staples.
First up, the pumpkins. Did you know it takes about 100 days to grow them? And during this time, you want a good balance of dry and wet days.
For one, when we've got hot and dry, sometimes that actually has a detrimental effect on the blooms. So the blooms that create the pumpkins for us, some of them weren't holding on, some of them, the plant will abort some, and then you're not going to have as heavy of a pumpkin patch as you would like. All that lovely rain about 2 weeks ago, so then that's actually kind of gives you a negative on that, because then they're sitting in water and then they're kind of like sucking it up and they're becoming like a little bit of a sponge. So weather plays, it's anything we do in agriculture, it plays a huge part, whether it can be positive or negative. I tend to prefer it dry because we do have the ability to irrigate, but at some point, you only have so much irrigation you can do. And some things are more important than others. But overall, the pumpkins look pretty decent.
And then there's the apples.
I know weather conditions would be a little bit dry, but with maybe a little bit of rain, maybe once a week, maybe once every other week. Most of us, a lot of us in the apple industry, especially in the older days, most of us didn't irrigate apple trees. They're one of the things that we don't tend to irrigate. So if it gets really dry, then we have to either figure out how to irrigate them. And we don't like to usually irrigate overhead because you create a lot more fungus issues and everything. Usually, dry weather does increase your flavor a little bit, but this year they seem a little bit flatter. And I'm not sure if it's because we had all that rain there for a few weeks, or it's just we were actually early in our season and now we're kind of like cooling off and slowing down.
Here at Laura's Orchard in Churchville, Maryland, I'm meteorologist Amy Aronson.
Now, winter wheat is the primary cool season crop grown on the high plains of Texas this time of year, but many farmers are concerned about the success of this year's crop as drought is still a major problem in the region. Drew Powell has more.
Wheat it's very drought tolerant. They always say wheat has 9 lives.
1 month into the start of the 2024-2025 winter wheat growing season is off to a fair start up here on the high plains. But a major concern that ag producers and farmers have right now is a lack of moisture in the forecast when it comes to rain or snow for the next couple of months.
As far as a moisture profile in our ground, we can always use more moisture for the profile. But for the survivability of wheat, it needs about a ½ inch of moisture per month until it hits the reproductive stage.
In the event there is no rain in the forecast for the next couple of months, ag producers and farmers say they'll gladly accept a wet snow of a couple of inches. It's that wet snow that provides nourishment for the winter wheat crop.
Snow's a godsend to wheat because the snow brings down nitrogen out of the atmosphere, and that's a great fertilizer for wheat. And that just helps with it later on with its reproductive capability.
The fact that we're in a La Nina winter, the probabilities just for precipitation in general are for below normal. That there's just about anywhere from a 50 to 60% chance of below normal precipitation. Typically, we also have less snowfall. About 70% of La Ninas produce below normal snow for the winter.
Just a ½ inch of moisture is all ag producers and farmers need during the cool part of the growing season to ensure that they have a very profitable winter wheat crop.
Now, ponds and lakes across Rhode Island are currently being stocked with trout. The fish are popular with local anglers. Katie Benoit gives us a closer look at this restocking.
Hundreds of rainbow and brook trout making a splash in Olney Pond.
They're about 3 years old.
Eager to make Lincolnwood State Park their new home as they're unloaded from a tanker truck by nets and through pipes.
Let's make sure that we have trout to catch. There's not enough native population for to sustain the fishermen.
The Department of Environmental Management says the process of raising fish starts months before in a hatchery, where a handful of employees keep an eye on their growth, starting when they're just eggs.
Every time they grow, we keep moving them. We move them into little ponds, like in-ground pools.
Fish are being stocked in about 25 spots across Rhode Island. The timing is weather dependent since trout require colder water to survive.
There's been years in the past where we've had severe droughts and it's been really warm that we have not been able to do for Columbus Day.
DEM says there hasn't been a major change in the trout ecosystem over the last few decades, but some ponds and lakes won't get fish due to blue-green algae, which can be harmful to humans.
It's been a struggle. Some of the more popular ponds seem to always get the blue-green algae. Humans can get rashes, and we've heard of dogs getting sick.
Columbus, Ohio meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael loves interacting with viewers. He recently started a new series where he's answering weather questions people send him on Facebook. Let's take a look at what questions he's answering this week.
Hey everybody, Andrew Buckmichael here with another round of your weather bucket questions, and we've got some new questions to add to the bucket from the post on my Facebook page, so let's get to it. We're going to do another lightning round. First question coming in from Sherry. Someone said we would need 7 feet of snow to make up for the deficit of rainfall this year. Well, that would be kind of true. Take a look here. This is the rainfall for the entire year. We are running about 6.6 inches behind normal or drier than normal here in Columbus. So if you go with 10 inches of snow equals 1 inch of rain, yeah, we would need several feet of snow. All right, next question here. We're going to go with this one first from Donna saying, why does the drought cause the doors of my house to not close all the way? Keep in mind, when the soil dries out, it cracks. It's not staying in its normal form. It's going to shift a little bit. Plus, the heat as well causes things to expand. So that's why your house right now, some of your windows or your doors might not be closing quite the same. Hopefully, we'll get some rain to fix that for you, Donna. Another question from April. Why haven't we seen the moon in a week? Great question. Here's a look at September. The moon goes through phases, which means as we go through those phases, the moon is on different sides of the earth, and it's going to be rising and setting at different times, and you'll see it at different spots in the sky from day to day. Keep that in mind because we are now starting to near a full moon coming up. Thanks for all the questions. Again, there's still more to get to, but if you have any questions, post it right here to the video, your question, and I'll add it to the bucket for next time.
Now, Andrew isn't our only meteorologist answering questions. Let's take a look at this recent Facebook post from meteorologist Teresa Carter on what causes radiation fog and how it forms.
Radiation fog is very common and is most prevalent during the fall and winter. It forms at night under clear skies with calm winds when heat absorbed by the Earth's surface during the day is radiated into space. As the Earth's surface continues to cool, provided a deep enough layer of moist air is present near the ground, the humidity will reach 100% and fog will form. The best condition to have radiation fog is when it had rained the previous night. This helps to moisten up the soil and create higher dew points, making it easier for the air to become saturated and form fog. It usually dissipates soon after sunrise as the ground warms.
And time now for a short break, but first we soar over Brisbane, Australia.
Well, a very good Monday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. Sunshine across the plains, but across the Great Lakes, we're mostly cloudy with some light, spotty rain as we continue on into the day tomorrow. Still cool, a lot of 50s for high temperatures. What a shift it is compared to the last few weeks. And by the time that we get to Wednesday, should be dry for all of the Midwest with temperatures still on the cool side.
Good Monday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, starting off with really a comfortable morning. Look at those cool readings, too, from Amarillo into Little Rock, Oklahoma City in the 50s. In the afternoon, a lot of sunshine, very comfortable temperatures, low 70s, around 80. It does get a little toasty hot from Austin, San Antonio into Houston. And then Tuesday, another front coming in. Next weather maker for this week. This front will work its way all the way south, delivering cool air to deep South Texas.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. The long-awaited cool down. Finally, after days and weeks of record heat in the Southwest, we're going to start slowly cooling down. Now, we've got a front that's working its way into the Pacific Northwest today. That's going to bring in a little bit of light rain and start to initiate this big cool down working in across the West. But it's going to start to bring in some wind as well. That's the scene from here.
The National Weather Desk.
Well, many people use autumn as a time to prune their trees, one of the most common being oak trees. But as meteorologist Grayson Freund reports, the timing is crucial to ensure your trees stay healthy.
The best time to prune oak trees would be as they have gone dormant. And so kind of a way to tell that, I mean, the leaves will be brown if there's still leaves on the tree, or, all the leaves have fallen, and just kind of look around and see if any other trees are green. And if you see green trees, don't prune.
The Iowa DNR advises to wait to prune oak trees until after October 15th to prevent the spread of oak wilt, a fungus that kills thousands of oak trees each year. It's spread by sap-feeding beetles that transport the fungus from tree to tree, or through root grafting when the roots of two trees attach. Discoloration, wilting, or rapid leaf loss are all signs of infection.
early fall, late summer, kind of in that area, if you start to see all of your oak tree leaves turn brown, then there's something going on.
But by pruning in the fall, when beetle activity is reduced and the trees are less at risk of infection, you significantly lower the chance of introducing the disease.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Janae Bowens. Make it a great Monday, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.